I know. That is
I said it 1,300 times in the last pod.
It's so crazy you don't realize until you hear it back and you're like, wow. It's so weird. I feel like that's our...
We searched like, and it was like 1,319.
Was it just me or was it both of me and Taylor?
Oh, it's both of you, for sure.
Oh, it was both of us. It wasn't just me hitting 1,300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is so much better.
No. Sierra.
We'll just say it was me. It's fine.
Just for legend's sake.
I think the psychology is just like, I didn't hear. Now I'm thinking about it.
You.
When you were talking on stage,
Yeah.
you have the mic. It's kind of like you're
Like,
running it. In this setting, you're trying to like keep a.
Yeah.
It's a filler word.
Yeah.
It's a filler word to keep like.
yo.
It's a filler word to keep the pacing there, like.
Yeah.
Yo. Try not to say it for one day.
No, it's really hard.
Hey, freak out moment behind
Yeah.
the camera.
I told J-Law, and he was like, do we need to get you like a shot collar so whenever you say it? I said, that's what I said.
I'm sitting here.
I said like a little wristband where it's like,
we need to bring.
Sierra's
the
just
do
twitching, and we're like,
clicker
what's going on?
For attendance, and
Bruh.
just do this. every
Yeah,
time we hear
literally.
it.
what's
One,
crazy
two,
is like in my head, I was like, I did not say it that much. I was like, this is good.
I did so good.
Little did I
I did
know,
so
I did
good.
a lot worse.
It's okay.
But it's fine.
It's completely
It's
fine.
great.
Yeah.
We're gonna not say like as much.
Yeah.
We got the pillow so
Goal
I can
number one.
sit forward. My feet can
We
touch
gotta
the
make it a
floor.
challenge to not say it for one day. That's
My mom used to fuss at me. I mean, she still does for that so bad. Enough with the likes, Lindsay Ann. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Sorry. Because I would say it so much. She's like, just say what you need to say. Like, okay, like.
It just like gets the
you
conversation going.
Yeah, literally.
Did I say like in that?
Yes.
No, I did not.
You did.
It gets the
it gets the conversation.
And that's what she would always say. She's like, you can say a sentence without it. You just use it like mispurposely. Is that the right word? Anyways. And I would be like, no, I
Mispurposely?
don't. And then you listen to yourself back and you're like, wow. You're like, wow.
Can't even.
Yeah, you didn't know?
I was saying I should go get mine. Because you didn't get
Well, I
mine.
asked if it was even legal to have it. I don't know, like. We should, yeah. For sure.
We'll take like a 5-minute like ad
Yeah.
in the middle of it. We just want to thank all of our sponsors.
Yeah. And
Our
this
one
podcast is brought
sponsor.
to you by.
It's one sponsor, and it's the garage.
Literally.
Or,
Literally. Gut School of Ministry.
And the
Who
internship.
bought us our coffees this morning.
Honestly.
That's coffee bar.
SUB30 is sponsoring the SUB30 podcast.
Actually.
I mean, are we mad about it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally.
Nobody else. It's us. It's all us. Well, should we get into it?
Yeah. Are we rolling?
Has it been rolling?
Oh, amazing.
Just picking up all of the
yeah.
joking,
Yeah.
the fun
Literally.
stuff.
Okay. Amazing. I feel like it's been a long time since.
I know.
we've
What was your
done
last pod?
this. I don't even know. Maybe the Kennedy and Dawson one, which has been a minute.
Yeah.
That was a fun one.
It was kind of like, oh my gosh, I just said like. Just
Count
for
one.
everybody that is listening into this, I'm trying not to say the word like 1,300 times again this podcast.
It's a feat.
So
Yeah. You got it.
we're gonna just roll with me.
Just gonna
fine.
roll with it.
Just going to
Enunciate
roll
all your
with
words.
it. Just gonna take it really slow.
Yeah. We're not on a time crunch.
No.
Praise God.
Amen.
Yeah.
Cole can go to the meeting without me.
Yeah.
Who needs me?
Yeah. Who needs them?
Yeah, that was a while ago, and then with the holidays
Yeah.
coming up and
Literally.
everything, and
Yeah.
we kind of switched and pivoted our kind of direction with the podcast. Instead of going more so like series oriented, we're going more just people oriented.
Yes. Which
Hearing
is so
their
fun.
stories, hearing what God's doing in their life,
Yeah.
hearing what they've come through, what they're overcoming, what God has brought them out of,
Yeah.
and just all the testimonies.
Yeah.
I personally love that because I'm like, I just want to hear what people
Oh, for sure.
have to say.
And it's what's connecting.
Yeah.
Like people can relate. And every story, I think everything that God brings you through and everything that you go through,
Yeah.
I've 1,000% believe it's for some, like there's always something for somebody else, you know?
Yes.
It might suck, but on the other end of it, there is something that's going to resonate
Yeah.
with somebody, and that a lesson that you learn, that's God is going to use. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what he does.
Well, then
So,
speaking of that, what's the time that you're like, oh gosh, God, this sucks. But then now you're on the other side and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I can walk through that. I see
Yeah.
the like count going up in the corner over here. But it's like, what has God brought you through that you're like, okay, this sucks. But now I see it on this side and I'm like, thank God that God brought me through that and I can use this now to help others.
oh goodness. Honestly, I feel like this is my life, but my family, which is so weird because God is doing such a work in my family as a whole right now. And this is multifaceted. It's going to be a multifaceted answer, but like with that situation, my parents got divorced almost 4 years ago. And it made me completely change my life, completely rethink everything. I was in a long-term relationship and I was like, can I marry this person? Is this person going to give me the life that I want, that I dream, that I know that God has for me? And like, that was at the beginning of me coming to Guts, and just hearing a different vocabulary that I'd really like never heard before in the terms of like a pastor from the stage saying, I want you to marry the right person. And I was like, am I going to marry the right person? Like, it really made me rethink everything. And so anyways, I like got out of that and now I'm married to my husband. And that was such a hard season. I mean, you're a child of divorce, right? Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like, especially, I feel like my situation is a little bit different because, you know, if you know my parents, you know, they're like, they get along great and they co-parent and we're together all the time. But it's something that you walk out every single day. Like, it's not really something that your parents like or get divorced and it's over and you never think about it again. It's really something that some days are great and some days really suck. And then some days are great and then some days are like the worst day ever. You know, it's really something that's ongoing all the time. And so, yeah, I think that was something that it completely flipped my life. And I don't know. And I like to believe, I know that God is a good God and he has only good and perfect things for me. So I know that I would still have an amazing life. But that situation completely flipped my way of thinking. And to now completely flips the way that I've communicated about marriage and about like, and I've taken a harder stance on it. You know, I was like, this is serious. Like and my parents have always been so great about me getting married and all those things. It was never like something that made me not want to get married or not pursue the life that God had for me. That was never it. It actually did the opposite. I was like, okay, then this is even more the reason to chase everything that God has for me, even more the reason. And it's crazy because I feel like God is so faithful. Like, that's kind of the other side of it, is that, you know, it's just so cool to see the work that he does in a situation and how it just completely does a 180. And what the enemy meant for bad, like, God turns to good, even the worst of the situations, like divorce, you know? And I'm the oldest of 6, and that's something that I carry pretty heavily. And even seeing, like, the change of my siblings, like my sister, she's here, she's a freshman at ORU, and God has been doing such a work in her. I mean, her vocabulary is changing. Like,
That's awesome.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. Anyways, if he started something, he's faithful to complete it, and that's all I have to say about that. Like, I'm learning that more than ever in real time. In this season of my life, which is crazy and so cool. So,
and like my family, I'm on the other side where I was 5. And so I've spent now 22 years, almost 23 years, where I maybe have 1 or 2 memories from before the divorce. And so I've really taken the perspective of like my parents don't talk. Like, it's being the mediator, being in the middle, and it's navigating that and my relationship with my brother. And there's a lot of layers through those years, and a lot of healing that has come out of that, a lot of restoration in relationships. Like, my mom and I, there were points where we did not talk to each other for many, many weeks to months. And there were ups and there were downs. It got better, and then it got worse. And there's just a lot to it. But it's like, I now have the best relationship with my mom that I've ever had. And
that's so awesome.
We have finally gotten to a place where we can communicate. And I forgot who I was talking about this the other day, and it was like learning how to love and honor the person that hurt you maybe the most in your life. And it has been the most healing journey to walk out in that, because my flesh wants to be like, she did all of this, she hurt you, and it's like all of these things that Yeah, no, those things happen.
Yeah.
Like, that is real.
For sure.
But there was also, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of layers to it. And it's, okay, I was a child who did not know how to be parented. I did not let my mom parent me.
Yeah.
And my mom and I have talked about it. Like, she had given up on
Yeah.
parenting me because I was horrible. But it's, and her and I can joke about this now. Like, we literally will laugh about this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the like greatest part of healing is like we can look at the things that were so wrong and horrible and just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I can now sit on this side and I'm like, thank God that God brought us through that. And it's not just me getting through this, like my mom on the other side of it too. And her not holding anything against me for how I treated her as a mom.
Yeah.
And even like with my dad, like my cousin, she got married in September, October of last year.
Oh, I remember you leaving for that one. Yeah.
Whew, there were things that happened, and I love my family. Like, I am a people, family-oriented person.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, family can just be a little difficult.
It can, yeah.
When lives are lived a different way.
Yeah.
And there's some things that happen, and my dad and I are very, very close. We've always been super close, and we've always had open dialogue with each other. And him and I just got to have this really, really open conversation, and it was him finally hearing what I was saying for the first time in a very long time. And not like in a bad way, he doesn't listen to me. It was just what I finally said hit, and he finally heard it for what I, like, not just words coming in, but for the depth and the heart that I was, like, talking in. And he kind of got choked up a little bit and was just like, I'm so sorry, like, apologizing for, like, things that have happened in the past. And I was just like, hey, no. Like, we're nipping that in the butt right there. I was like, I thank you for the heart that you are operating right here and, like, the remorse that you have. But I'm good. I was like, the strong woman that I'm sitting here talking to you as is because God got me through all of that. Yeah. I don't view it as a hindrance or a setback or roadblocks. Those are my stepping points where I get to now have my life elevated because of these things. And he then got a little bit more emotional with how my response was to that, because I'm like, Dad, it's not holding me back. I was like, this is elevation. For sure. And it's the heart posture. I know Pastor Taylor talked about heart posture last night on Wednesday night, and just having gratitude for the situation. And I mean, I did not realize how negative my talk was for the longest time. And it's like, that's something I've definitely been, like, very conscientious of. Man, I'm saying, like, a lot. But I've been so conscientious in my speech about staying on the positive side. And it's, there's going to be things that don't go my way or don't go what I think should be the right way.
For sure.
But that doesn't mean it's just, okay, just vent, let it out. You got to okay, these things happen. Okay, keep going. Like, don't get, like, I can get so, like, fixated on one thing.
1,000%,
or, like, hyper-focused in. And so it's like, okay, don't, like, just take a deep breath. Keep going. And I had gotten home. I just moved back in with my dad, and I was eating dinner. I was watching my Survivor, and he comes in and just unloads. And I was just like, hey, Dad, thank you for telling me about your day. But did anything good happen? And he's like, oh. And he's like, yeah. And, like, and it was really cool, because it was, like, he's one that I've gotten to really have some really, really, really cool conversations about God with recently. And he was just like, he was telling me about this, the water pump on his, like, work truck broke, and he had to take it in, and he literally just got it back from the shop, and they found other things wrong with it. And he was mad about the water pump, but then as we're talking about this, he's like, yeah, but what they found actually could have been super, super dangerous, because, like, literally the car would have crashed. It would have stopped working. Like, he could have injured himself or somebody else, like, severely. But because the water pump broke, they found these issues. And just getting to have that conversation with my dad, where his just mindset is, like, shifting into, yes, it's negative, essentially.
For sure.
But what is God doing in the situation?
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
what can we actually be grateful for? And like for the next hour, we're literally just talking about the good things that have happened throughout his day. And I was like, Dad, so the majority of your day has been good,
was actually
huh?
good, yeah.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, I've just lived alone for so long. And I was like, hey, we're not going to use excuses anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, you've lived alone, but I'm here now.
Yeah.
So we're going to start talking positively.
Yeah.
And that helps me because that
Yeah.
also is putting a boundary for myself where, okay, if I'm holding him accountable, he's going to hold me accountable.
Yeah,
And it's only going to be
1000%.
positive speech that comes
Yeah.
out. It's only going to be gratitude. And it's, things aren't going to go my way. But how am I viewing this? Am I looking through it through the filter of my flesh, or am I looking through it through a kingdom filter where, okay, it's not going my way, but what is God doing?
Yes.
And that has been a very fun perspective to get to kind of operate in recently. And it's like, okay, Sierra, you're 27. You've been living for God for how long? And you're just now here. But it's, thank God, God is finally, like, I'm finally able to, like, have that revelation of what God has given me. And it's, I'm not disqualifying myself. I'm not discounting all of the seasons that I've had before this that I'm like, I'm not questioning where I was at.
Sure.
I'm just finally hearing something for the first time, and or words are finally getting put to it.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I feel like a lot of people can just kind of get stuck in, where it's, oh, well, I've been living for God so long, and they just want to discount or disqualify themselves because they feel like they should be somewhere else. And honestly, the root of that is just comparison. It's like, well, this person is already here and they're younger than me, or it's, well, I'm not there, but like they were there at that point in like time. And so it's like, what have you realized, like, in your walk of, I'm not going to discount, I'm not going to disqualify, like, I am fully equipped. Like, what does that look like? Just in your time from, like, high school into college to getting out of college, getting married, starting your business, walking it out with family, like, through the different seasons. Like, some seasons you're going to be at the highest of highs, and you're like, I'm in harvest right now. This is amazing. And at the same exact time, you're like, okay, I'm in a valley, and I'm getting stretched and pruned and equipped in this time.
Equipped. I'm armoring up. I think a place that I often disqualify myself is my business, which, for those of you who don't know, I'm a graphic designer. That's what I do. And I've had a business since I was 16, and it didn't start as graphic design. But that's where we landed now. And I think so many times I would look at my follower count, which is, this is so basic. This is so basic, okay? I literally talked to my therapist about this when I was like a senior in college, but I had been working so long, and I feel like what I did was good work. Like, I know that creativity is my strong suit. That if I don't have creativity at the end of the day, like, I don't want to say I'm nothing, because the Lord is who makes me, but like, that is my strong suit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that
you feel like you missed out on part of the day.
Yeah, literally. If I'm not creative in a day, what am I doing? Because that's my job. That's like literally what I do. And so, anyways, it was like I started to measure up my follower count to like my success, and you just see these people who become overnight, like, blast out of nowhere. They just have 10 million followers, and you're like, okay, well, I've been doing this for 20 years, and now, this is gonna sound so stupid, but right after that, I had something happen to my business that completely took off, and I've been booked ever since. Now, mind you, I don't even have 4,000 followers yet, but I'm booked solid. I'm working with some of my dream clients.
That's so cool.
And I don't even care anymore. Like, I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
It does not matter. I have people that love me, that I'm like I said, dream clients. Like, I had a call on Monday, and I'm like, how is this my life? This is real. And I'm also, the opportunities that have opened up, like, I'm able to be here and do this as well as do that. It's just crazy when you surrender and when you speak out the lie out loud, the way that the Lord is able to work. I think so oftentimes we hold it in because it feels silly to say, but I feel like the moment that I was like, this is how I'm feeling, and I know it's silly, and I know it doesn't make any sense, and I know that my validation doesn't come through followers, and that doesn't measure my creativity or my worth or anything like that. But the second that I said that, it was like, okay, God, like, did a complete 180 and was like, I'm going to show you, like, I have your back, you know? And it was just so crazy. And now, I mean, like I said, I love it. And I could care less if I had 10 followers. Like, I'm getting to do my dream job with my dream clients, and every day is a gift that I get to do it. And I'm just thankful. that God gave me the ability, and my perspective has completely shifted on that. So yeah,
That's so
I don't know if that answers your question, but
that's good.
yeah,
Because it really just comes down to like your identity.
it does. Yeah,
It's like,
for sure.
it is. What are you rooted in?
Yeah.
And what are you standing on?
Yeah. And I think so many people perceive you a certain way that makes you feel like you should be a certain way, if that makes sense. Like, I remember when me and Reed started talking, he was asking me about my business, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of wing it. And he's like, you just kind of seem like you have it all together. And I'm like, me?
Thanks.
I seem like I have it all together. And he was like, yeah, Lindsay, like, I don't know. We kind of all think that. I don't remember who he was talking about. It was so long ago. And I'm like, I have it all together. He's like, you have the business. Like, you know, you're in school. Like, you have this plan. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think so oftentimes when you let other people define who you are or, like, take their perception of you as this is what it is, it blurs it. It blurs your vision. And you're like, okay, where am I going? I don't know what I'm doing. But when you eyes on the prize, like, this is what is driving me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I know who I am. I know who God's called me to be. I know that this is God-given talent, that his favor is operating in my life. When you fixate back on that, it completely changes everything, puts everything back into focus. And so, yeah, it's funny. I just said eyes on the prize. Y'all are literally doing that series in GYC. I'm like, maybe it's in my brain from looking at everything.
Do we need to get you on the speaker rotation?
Oh, my gosh. That's so funny.
No, I think it's so important what you said of just speaking it out.
Yeah.
And that's something that it's so easy to just keep it in your head. Like, even last night, like, we had elders Meg and Sean for SUB30, and I got to speak with Meg afterwards, and it was just a moment where, hey, it's okay to, like, feel what you're feeling. We're not going to get fixated in that moment, and we're not going to get stuck there because we're not led by our feelings. Yeah. But it's okay to feel them. Yeah. And you should probably let those out, because if you just keep suppressing them, like, think of it as a bucket. And this is a counseling technique. My roommate actually used it on me because we called it my red bucket. Whenever I'd get a little too suppressed, all of it would just tip one day, and all of it would come out. And she's like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Like, you need to speak about what's going on. Yeah. And we can go through, oh, why do I do that? It doesn't matter. It's not something that I need to keep doing. For sure. And so I've realized in this last season that I've been in, I've held a lot in because I'm like, okay, I gotta be strong. I'm doing great. I have the most peace I've ever had in my life. It's the most joyous time. It's the most, like, fulfilling and rewarding time that I've ever been in. And it's the time I've spent the most with God. So there's a correlation there. But there's still the other side where there is part of me that is healing from what has just happened. Yeah. And I don't want, like, literally the mindset that the last podcast we talked about where I'm like, oh, I have a lot of revelation in the car, and, like, that's my time with God. Like, literally my car is, like, my safe place with God. For sure. Because it is just, like, literally nobody's around. I can crank up the music as loud as I want, and I can cry, I can scream, I can just feel it all and let it out. And then I'm like, we're good. Because I'm a person, I like to be moving. I hate being stagnant. If you're like, what's, like, the one thing you would hate to be, like, known as? My answer is literally a pond, because it is stagnant and it just is death. Like, and that's not what I want. Yeah. But like, Meg had just like, Sarah, it's okay to feel. Like, just let it out. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I should probably do that. Yeah. And I just even speaking to God about it. And I literally was like, God, I am so sorry that I have been holding this in and not allowing myself a place to literally just communicate to my dad, like my father, my heavenly father, about this. Yeah. That you know what I'm going through. I don't have to, like, pretend that he doesn't. Like, he knows. Yeah. And so it was just this, like it was such, like, a pure and, like, just, like, my dad sees me. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay to feel the way that I feel about this. It's not okay to stay. That is the biggest thing. But once I finally spoke that out and finally put words to the thoughts that have been in my head, that weight that I've been carrying for the last, like, week or so, gone. And I talked about, like, peace and anxiousness on the last podcast with Taylor. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I always know, I'm, like, tweaking over here. I always know when I'm getting to a place outside of like God's peace.
Yeah.
Because there's a heaviness and an anxiousness that I operate out of, and I know it's me. And I like, goodness gracious, that light count is going up. But I could tell the last like week or so that, okay, I am not, like, there's something that I am out of alignment with God.
Sure.
And in my brain, I was like, there's no way it's this, because I've surrendered this, I've given it to him. And he's like, well, yeah, you have, but you're not allowing yourself to like walk out the healing side of it. Like, yeah, you're healed whole, you're good, like you're running that race and you're doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
And God was literally like, it's okay to be proud of yourself for how you've been handling everything. And like, I'm literally just like weeping in my car last night because I'm just like, oh my gosh, God, like, I needed that. Like, because it is like, it's tough. Like when you're literally, when you feel like you are in a wilderness season, like, oh my gosh, when you are in a wilderness season, all you want to do sometimes is just think about, I'm alone. What's happening? I don't know what's next. I don't know which way is out. I don't know how I got here.
Yeah.
What's happening? Where am I going? What's next? Am I in the right place? Like, what did I do to get, like, all these lies can come in. And it's,
1,000%.
so what are you focusing? Like, what are you keeping your eyes fixated on? And we've been talking about that in Maine.
Yeah.
And the perspective is, it's a season of equipping.
Yeah.
And
Which
growing
is so cool.
and pruning and elevation.
Yeah.
And it's all, it literally, it comes down to, what is your mindset? What is your heart posture on these things?
Yeah.
Where it's, you are in a wilderness here, but you are about to hit the summit over here.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be in two places. Like,
Yes.
you can't physically be in two places at once.
Yes.
But the different areas and seasons of your life can be the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
Or you could be plateaued everywhere. And obviously that is not where you should be. And you should probably get with the Lord on that. But it's just, it's amazing how faithful God is at the highest of highs.
Literally.
But he's the same faithful in the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
And there is no difference in the love that he shows you, and the care and the comfort and the peace and the joy. And both of those moments being literally on opposite spectrums, but it's the same God.
Same God.
Same God. Every single time.
Same promise. Yeah.
And it's like, wow. Like, okay, you're walking out the promises here, but man, you are getting equipped to get all of the promises that God has for in this season.
I think that's so good. How Pastor Beall's been talking about just the wilderness and what that looks like and how we shouldn't be afraid of it. I think that's so cool. And I've really been having Isaiah 43:19 on my heart. Behold, I'm making all things new. I'm making a path in the wilderness and a rivers in the desert. And that's just kind of reminded me of what you said. But I think it's cool because how you said, like, where are my exits? Like when you feel like you're trapped inside of something. Yeah. It's like, the second that you invite God in, doors open up all around you. But if you just stay in that place, you're like, oh my gosh, there's literally no doors. And God's like, of course there's not. Like, hello, like I'm right here, you know?
Yeah.
But it's because you're so blinded by like what's in front of you, you can't even see what God's trying to do unless you invite him in and like fully surrender that. And I think it's cool how you said feeling it, but then also like it's okay to feel it, but we're not going to let it control us. You know, I think that's so massive because I think it's a fine line of like, I feel this and I want to like get over it, but then also the healing that takes place. Like they're one and the same, I think, you know?
Completely.
Like sometimes the Lord just has to walk you through that and it's okay to feel emotion. Last week, something happened and I literally all day crying, stopping, crying, stopping, crying. I was like praising God, happy tears of fear, like
just
like,
all of it.
all in one. And I literally, it was crazy. I was like, I've not been this emotional. Now it was a very like answered prayer thing. Yeah. But yeah, it was just a crazy thing. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm just going to let you walk me through this for the day. I'm just going to be okay. Like, I'm fine. I'm good, you know? But, yeah, and I think one thing that I'm learning more than anything is that the enemy always comes to steal the seed.
Oh, yeah.
And Pastor Beall says that all the time.
All the time.
All the time. But I've never experienced it the way that I have this last week. Wow. And, like, I don't even know. It's just the craziest thing. Something really big happened in my family, like I said. And it's like an answered prayer. Like, I don't even know. It doesn't even feel real to me yet. Yeah. immediately, I'm going to bed the night that my parents told us I'm going to sleep. And I tell Reed, I'm like, I'm crying. He's like, are you excited? I'm like, I'm just a little scared. He's like, why? I'm like, I just am. Like, I don't want to attach it, like, da-da-da. And I even told my dad, I was like, if this certain thing doesn't happen, like, I will not talk to you for 3 months. And the next day I got so convicted about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not okay. Like, your happiness is not dependent on this situation. But when you pray for something for so long, and when you are, like, standing in the gap for a situation, or my family in this instance, for so long, and, like, what you have prayed for comes to pass, it's almost like the enemy wants to come in and be like, oh, yes, you prayed for it, but you better actually hope it happens, or your prayers meant nothing. And I'm like, whoa, you know? Yeah. And I talked to Coach Bush about it, and he was like, you can't be praying out of fear. Like, your stance still has to be,
that's so good,
like, faith-filled, and that you're going to stand in the gap, and that you have the authority over the situation no matter what happens. Yeah. You know? Like, you cannot change the way that you're praying about it, or, you know, just your heart posture towards it, because, and I was just like, oh, that's so good. But the enemy, like, he always comes to steal the seed, and I've really never experienced that like I have this past, actually, week. It's crazy. But and I'm sure that you've, you know, felt that recently. You feel like you make the right decision, and then it's the enemy is like, psych.
No, for real.
Just kidding.
It's like,
you did it wrong, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. But what's so cool about that is we literally can turn it on its head just like that by being like, okay, what do I need to speak over this? Yes. And there have been 2 just like different, I don't want to call them stories, because like they're real. Stories. But different like times in the Bible that have just, like God is literally just like walking all the angles out. And like I'm seeing so many different perspectives, and you can read one thing one time, and then it's like you come back and read it again, and you're like, how did I miss that? Yeah. And then it's like, oh my gosh, wait, how did I miss this? The third time you come to it. And one of the ones is like the disciples in the boat with Jesus, and like they're like, we're gonna die. Like, this storm is literally going to capsize us. Like, they're freaking out, and Jesus is just asleep in the back of the boat. And like for me, that has been one that God is just like, you're at the front of that boat freaking out because of what's happening. I've been here the entire time with you at peace. Just tap into me. Yeah. You know? And so that's something like I have been so conscientious about, of just like whenever I'm thinking about something, I'm like, okay, am I being a disciple right now in the boat, or am I asleep at peace in the boat? Yeah. And if I'm the disciple, it's doing exactly what the disciples did, waking up Jesus and realizing, hey, I have the same authority, and I can tell these storms to, hey, nope.
Calm down.
Calm down. Yeah. You have no place here. And it changes my perspective instantly, because I'm like, okay, am I operating in my flesh, or am I operating through my spirit? Yeah. So it's like my like check in my spirit of just like, where's my heart posture here? Yeah. But the other one is Abraham and Sarah, and how Abraham was going to be he became the father of many nations, but his wife was barren. And it's like, you want to look at it like through like the worldly perspective, like how does that happen? Literally. If a wife can't have a kid, how is he going to be the father of many nations when he's not a father? Yeah. So as I like continue to like read through this, and it's a story that I've known for most of my life, but I got to this place the other day where I was reading it, and I wish I remembered the verse to it, but it was whenever God called Abraham, had a son named Isaac through his wife Sarah, and was called to sacrifice him on top of a mountain. Crazy. And whenever God told Abraham that, he did not hesitate. No. He grabbed his son and grabbed his 2 other, I think they were slaves with them, and they started walking to this mountain. In my flesh, I'm like, Psycho. I'm not a mom. Psycho. I'm not near being a mom, but I'm like, I see these kids that I've nannied most of my life, and I'm like, these aren't mine, and I could not fathom that action of not even hesitating. Even like a stranger's kid. No, yeah. Any kid. Just it's a child. Any child that is in front of me, I'm like, how could that be a thought? Yeah. But he did it without hesitation. And as they got to this place where the mountain was now in sight, and he told the 2 slaves to stay, and him and Isaac were going to go to this mountain. And the slaves asked, I forgot what they asked, but Abraham's response was, we will be back fully knowing that he is going to sacrifice his son, his response to them was, "We will be back."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. Okay. And then I kept reading, and then you hear Isaac then, "Okay, Dad, where's the sacrifice?"
He's asking the whole way up. He's like, "Where's it at?"
And Abraham's response is, "The Lord will provide." They get to the top. He literally is about to take this knife and plunge it through his son and kill his son and sacrifice him, because that's what he's been told. And an angel of the Lord appears.
Yeah.
And is like, whoa, no, not right now.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah.
Hold on. What's in the thicket over here is a ram's horn. He's stuck and is now...
Yeah. There you go.
What?
Yeah,
and
it's
they
crazy.
return. The we returns. And it's not just the...
Yeah.
His response to the slaves was something that...
The service on this podcast is incredible.
Better than Chick-fil-A. My pleasure. There was. But it was his response to the slaves whenever he was going, fully knowing he was going to sacrifice his son.
Yeah.
And his response is, "We will return." I thought about it, and I'm like, how many times in my life do I know that God has already, the promise will be fulfilled?
Yeah.
How many times am I getting in the way where I'm like, God, I just don't understand. In my own earthly desires and my flesh, that I'm like, I can't fathom how this would work. I can't comprehend.
Doesn't even make sense.
And it's like, I just get in the way of what God's doing.
Yeah.
And instead, I could just, okay, God, yeah, you got me. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I get in the way. And I can look back at my entire life and I'm like, good Lord, Sierra, if you would have just shut your mouth, you would have been great.
Please.
But I'm like, it was just such, I think this was 3 or 4 days ago, but I sat there and I just need to tell everybody this perspective that I had, because it's so good.
Yeah.
But then even that comes in with a conviction of dang, so why was I not telling people about the other stuff that I've been reading about all this time? Why was that not what was on my mouth all this time? Why does it have to come from a revelation? Why is it not just the good and perfect things that God is doing?
For sure.
So.
Yeah, because he's always at work.
Yeah.
Always.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because it just doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.
It's like a constant revelation upon revelation and a constant move and a constant, whoa, God.
Yeah.
Bro, you're here.
Yeah.
And he's like, duh, I don't leave.
I don't leave, yeah. Here I am.
I'll never leave you or forsake you.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
And oftentimes you don't really see it till you're on the other side of it, which I also think is so crazy. I think there is some seasons that you're so aware of the work that he's doing, but I think there's other seasons where there's not anything that's super heavy.
Yeah.
And you're just living life, but also pursuing God. And then you are out of that season and you're like, wow, what I learned in that time in my life is the only reason I'm getting through right now.
Oh,
because I learned how to lean on the Lord. Which, this is so random, but I think this is something that I love about Guts, is that, I don't know, we don't depend on God only in the hard seasons. We depend on him all the time. We take authority all the time. It doesn't matter if you're at the top or the bottom, your stance is still the same. Yeah. And I think so oftentimes, I was talking to my brother about this a few weeks ago, but one of his friends, let me see how I want to word this. He was going through something with one of his friends, and I told him, I was like, Luke, I was like, I just think that some people, they have to have something to attach God to, not everybody is going to take authority the way that you do. Not everybody is going to see situations the way that you do. Some people are only going to be like, God is getting me through this. Thank God for the Lord. It makes me not to be dramatic, but want to throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, can you just stop? You have the authority over it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is hard. You have the authority over it. Stand up. Stop. Do you know what I'm saying? Stop whining, you know? And I feel like that's it's so easy to take that stance of woe is me. My life is so hard. That might be the reality.
Yeah.
Your life might be hard, but you do have the authority in it, and he is getting you through it. And whatever he started, he is faithful to complete.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is something that I have spoken over my life, over my family, the past 6 months more than ever. And I'm seeing him complete it. It is coming to fruition.
That's so cool.
But you have to stick with it, and you have to speak the word in season and out of season
Yeah.
and pray without ceasing.
Yeah.
He is faithful to his word.
Yep.
Like, if you don't feel like your life is looking how it should, if you don't feel like, you know, you're where you should be, maybe you should flip it and look back at yourself, you know, because it's a
Yeah.
real thing. Like,
I mean, we
take
can give him free
accountability,
will.
take responsibility. Like,
Yeah.
God's not just going to puppet you into the best life imaginable.
Yeah.
Like, you have to take the authority of it.
Yeah.
He's not going to push you into it because he's a loving God.
Yeah.
And love is free will.
Yeah.
You have a choice. Love is a choice. So anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know where that tangent just came from.
It's
and I'm a
like-
little loopy for my brain stuffiness. If you can hear my voice being like a frog, I'm sorry.
Ribbit.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like a little ribbit sound in the background.
Yeah,
that they'll
literally.
just like throw over.
Yeah. I think I could actually sound like a frog
A
if I
little
wanted
croaking.
to. Yeah.
Give it a try. Let's hear it.
Is that what they sound like?
I don't know.
In Louisiana, I feel like that's what they sound like.
Oh.
But yeah, anyways. So, yeah. My brain just blanked, but
It's that like it's the steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, and that has been. I will repeat that constantly in this season because I'm just like, the enemy is trying his hardest, and it's. I was talking to my boss this morning already about that, and it's the enemy. Like she was saying, her daughter was like, I just want the devil to stop messing with me.
that's so real.
And she goes, honey, I'm just gonna be really real with you. She's 10. He's not gonna.
Yeah.
You have the authority.
Yeah.
You take authority over it and you speak to it.
Yeah.
You don't let him affect you. You don't give him a foothold. You don't give him an inch. And that is just it's beautiful to hear how a mom can talk to their 10-year-old daughter about that, where it's as simple for the smallest child to understand.
Literally.
Like, it is not. I feel like people can just make it so complex and so. I'm never gonna understand. I'm never gonna have this revelation of things, and it's. Yeah, that's what the devil's wanting you, so you actually don't have that.
1,000%.
Whereas it literally is as simple as the smallest
Yeah.
child can understand it.
Yeah.
And it's when you get to that place where, okay, get to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start simple. And I've heard this saying where it's, okay, when you've been following the Lord and then all of a sudden you're like, look around and you're like, okay, God, where are you? Go back to the last place
Yeah.
that
he
you
left
know you heard
Yeah.
God.
Coach Bush used to always say that.
Oh,
What's
he
the last
harped
thing
on
God
my
spoke to
life
you?
about that.
I'm like, please stop asking me these questions.
I don't want to answer it because I know, and
You're
I'm
like
sorry.
crying at SUB30, and he'd be like, "What's God spoke to you like?" You're like, "Oh my gosh, this again."
Yes.
Seriously.
But it's but I love having people in my life
No,
that will call
it's
that
so
out.
amazing. Yeah.
Like, I think of Moses and like Aaron and her whenever
Yeah.
Moses has to like hold the staff up for them to.
Yeah.
I think it was the Amalekite. Was it the Amalekites? Like, to succeed over the Amalekites. Like,
Yeah.
they were in a war, and when his arms stayed up, they were in victory. But
Yeah.
when his arms fell,
Yeah.
the Amalekites started to like overtake. But then Aaron and Hur were right there, his arm bearers, and they sat Moses down, and his arms stayed up, and he had two people holding his arms up. And it's just, who are those people that
Yeah.
no matter what war
good.
literally you are facing,
Yeah.
are going to be there to hold your arms
Yeah.
up when you're tired
Yeah.
or to pick you up whenever you fall down. And it's not this, I'm just going to stay down, I'm going to take the hits, I'm just going to weather this season. But it's, hey, get your rear end up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, you've not been given a spirit of fear,
Yeah.
but of power, love, and a sound mind.
Yeah.
And it's, growing up in sports, I'm a coach me hard, because if you're a little too passive, I'm probably going to just overstep my lane,
Yeah.
knowing that's exactly what I did in a lot of my teams. So I love it. And Coach Bush was one of my coaches for a short season of like growing up. And he's why I committed to play at Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
Like, love him and his wife. They've been amazing in my life. But because of the way that he coached me, there was a respect level that I'm like, you can literally not say whatever you want, but what you say, I'm going to hear it differently.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how God speaks to me. It is not this passive, oh, my daughter, it's okay, let's go. It's get up.
Yeah.
But it's not like in a rude tone. It's,
No, yeah.
why are you sitting down?
Like reminding you who
You are good.
whose
Yeah.
You are.
Like,
yeah.
you are confident, you are strong, you are courageous.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I am. And it's like, it's that reminder, and not in a way of like, my daughter, you're beautiful, you're confident, you're courageous. And it's, hey, let's go. Like I'm picking you up out of what you're allowing yourself to sit in. Yeah. Where it's like, we can think we're sitting in quicksand when actually we're just sitting on the sand. Like, we're just sitting on dirt that is, we are wanting to stay. And a lot of it comes down to, it is our choice. For sure. Do you want to stay in what you're staying in? Like, are you comfortable with that? Or are you ready to like literally step up, get uncomfortable, and get out of that season because you know it's not where you're supposed to be? Yeah. Like, it is a choice. Yeah. But it's, are you willing? I don't know why my hand just clawed my knee.
It is a choice.
But it's, you literally get to make that choice and decide for yourself. Do you want to, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm plateaued, I'm at the most that God can give me? Or it's, are you gonna just, okay, this mountain is huge, aka your life. Yeah. Are you going to do what's necessary to keep climbing that until you get to the golden gates? Yeah. Like, are you willing to put in the work? Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because it's not easy. No. It's not always fun. No. But what happens as you climb this mountain and you look out as to what's around you, you see the beauty of who God is and the love he has. And it's, you meet people along this journey. And it's, just like you climb a mountain, there are times you're going to go up and there are times you're going to fall in that same trek. Yeah. But what does that do? It's like acclimatization. Acclimating, thank you. I make up words that sound like other words. But you're acclimating and you're getting prepared to be able to surpass that level that you had just made it to. Okay, you're acclimating, you come back down to get higher. And so it's, we can look at it as, oh my gosh, I had to take a step back. But what do you do after a step back? You go ahead, you elevate. And so God also speaks to me in images and my dreams. So it's, I speak a lot in that. But that has been one of the most beautiful things that God has showed me lately of, it's not a step back. It's an opportunity for a step forward. Yeah, that's good. But am I willing to assess where I'm at? Where, okay, I was not ready to take that next step. I need to come back down. I need to acclimate. I need to make sure my backpack, all the things that I'm equipped with, okay, I've taken inventory of myself with what's around me, with who I'm going up this with, making sure I have a team around me, because you don't want to do it alone. No, when you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. Period. So, like, I want to be successful. I want to be victorious. I want to win. So how am I going to do that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's how I'm going to do it. Not alone. Yeah. With right people. Yeah. With the Lord. And fully knowing I'm equipped, I'm called, and that this is the right time that I'm stepping into this. Because if I stepped into it, then there's going to be harsher consequences that come because I'm not listening to the peace and the call and the timing that is on this season, whatever is ahead of me. Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. I love that. That's a good viewpoint, I feel. Are you feeling it too? I just get dry mouth when I talk a lot. And I talk very fast, which is
me too.
Not helpful. I relate. So I'm sorry. You might have to put this on like 0.75 to hear it at 0.1.
But I do think that's such a cool perspective to think about, like coming back down, looking at it, being like, okay, God, where are we going? What are we doing? Yeah. How are we going to get there? Allowing him to speak to you, trying to get him, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that's such a cool visual to see. Because I also see in, like, images, like, as you're talking, I'm picturing, like, all this stuff. But, yeah, I love that. I really do love that. And it just seems like I can just hear it in your voice. Like, the Lord is doing something in you, and I'm just so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Has this been, like,
it hasn't been easy, but
a high season, a low season, a season in between? Like you said, this has been the closest that you've ever felt to God, but also, like, the most peace you've ever felt, but also, like, I don't even know. It just seems like you're at your highest, but then you, like, question, but then you're at your highest.
Yeah. Honestly, there's just big life change recently that has happened, and devastating. Yeah. Like, completely devastating. But at the same time, the opportunity that came out of it, like, the most beautiful thing that I said I was going to be the first one to cry on the podcast. But it is literally the most amazing opportunity to truly just know my Father in a way that I've never allowed myself to know him before. And it's all of the lies, all of the previous things that I've held on to for so long of just getting broken off. Like all these, I know we've talked about it on here before, but like all these generational, that could be curses, will now be generational blessings.
Yeah.
And so it's all of this that the enemy has just laid on me has no place anymore. And so it has literally been hell, to say the least, because it sucks. It's a season that truthfully I would never wish upon anybody, but more so like the action or what the life change was, not so much the like opportunity season, because the opportunity season is fruitful. It's amazing. It's vulnerable and it's stripping and it is just uncomfortable.
For sure.
But on the flip side, I'm now like my passions that I've forgotten about, like wanting to do so many different things. And I'm like writing out all these things and I'm like, how did I forget about these? And God's like, because you forgot about me in them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Like, okay.
And I'm like,
harsh answer, but
yeah.
I'll roll with it.
Yeah. And it's for me, I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, I needed that.
No need to call me out.
Literally. And I'm like, but thank you. I was like, thank you for calling me out on these things, because I truly left God out of the dreams that he's given me.
Yeah.
And somebody had said it. I'm so good at remembering what somebody says, but not who says it. But they said, write down. Isaac, my best friend's husband, said it. It was like, when you have a dream that you know you can accomplish on your own, it's not God. So write down the dreams that you are like, I don't know how this is going to get accomplished.
For sure.
And I started thinking about that, and I started, okay, this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow. I was driving the other day. I was in my car. And I'm like, God, literally, these things are all you.
Yeah.
Because I have no clue how I would accomplish them.
And
Literally
it's almost like you
on
can't
my
think
own.
that big.
Yeah.
Without the help of the Lord.
Literally.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's almost like your brain limits itself. You
Yes.
know? Like, I feel like every time I'm asked that question, like, what's your biggest dream? And I'm like that only God could help you accomplish.
Yes.
I'm like, you know, like I really feel like it takes the time of like surrendering and like that moment to the Lord and being like, okay, self-reflection time.
Yeah.
What, like, let's do this together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just so cool.
Yeah. And the season is really just, I made the statement, brought me back to the basics, but it truly has brought me back to the foundational level of, okay, before you build a house, make sure the foundation is solid.
Yeah.
And that is where I'm sitting right now, is I don't care how long it takes. I want the foundation that my everything is based on to be that solid rock, that
1000%,
foundation that is immovable.
Yeah.
No matter what comes its way.
Yeah.
Because what comes on top of that is everything else.
Yeah.
And it's been difficult because it's the weeding through all the lies and putting the word over them.
Yeah.
And it's that conscious effort of when that creeps in and when that feeling comes up, it's, okay, is my response to lean into the emotion, or am I going to speak the word over it?
1000%.
And yeah, the flesh wins sometimes, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I've been sitting in this a little too long today. We need to rip out that Bible and like, let's remind ourselves like, no, this is not God. Like, this is God.
For sure.
And one of the things that a couple years ago, my friend made a video of just people wishing me happy birthday. It was one of the lowest of times in my life. And she like had so many people send in, and she does this for a lot of people. Like,
I was about to say, is it Tori?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember her doing this for Steven, I think,
Yes.
once. Okay, that's so cute.
Yeah, she did it with me when we first lived together. And like that day, like my birthday is always just a weird day for me. Like,
Yeah.
I love celebrating people, but I have a hard time being celebrated.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, but also like I want to be
But you want-
celebrated.
yeah, who doesn't want to be
so it's like
celebrated?
that
Yeah.
weird, like I don't know how to act.
Yeah.
And we like went to dinner and like, oh, I'm so sorry, listeners. It's just so tough for me. But we get back to the house and there's only a few people there, and I had no clue this was happening.
Yeah.
Like literally, I got offended by people earlier, like 2 weeks before that, because people were like whispering around a corner, and I literally started walking around the corner, and they're like, "Sierra's coming, don't talk about it." And I'm like, "What the heck are you guys?" And like, I was like, "I'm so left out. Like, I'm offended.
Yes.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Like, all of these things." And they were literally talking about what they were like sent. Like Tori was asking them to, "Hey, send in the videos or whatever," and which. I just look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, Sierra, calm the frick down. Like, you are fine. But she plays this video and I'm weeping, of course, because I always say I'm not a word of affirmation person, but I 1000% am. I'm like, who does not want to hear good
Yeah,
things
of
about,
course,
like,
yeah.
you're lying if you say you're not. Like, I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that her brother had said, Stephen had said, was when you dream and when you speak about a dream, Sierra, like it's never as if there's a question or a doubt that is going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
It's you have such a confidence when you speak about these dreams that you're going to do them. Like there's no doubt in our minds even that you're going to accomplish these things
Yeah.
because of how you just speak about them.
Yeah.
And in this last season, about 2 weeks, about a week ago, God reminded me of that statement that Stephen had said. And I was like, I stopped in my tracks and I was just like, I stopped dreaming,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like I lost sight of the amazing things that God has put in my mind.
Yeah.
And all of these dreams and visions and passions that make me me.
Yeah.
That make the future of what's to come so fruitful
Yeah.
with what God's going to do. And I'm just like, I never want to get to a place in my life where I do not, like how you were like, if I'm not creative in a day, like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Literally, if I'm not dreaming about something, and it's not these like wild, like, do this and do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Like it is something that it is so, I literally can put plan in place
Yeah.
to trust God that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
It's not this, I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. It's, God, I don't know how, but I'm going to start putting my pen down
Yeah.
to it. And like, I love drawing. I wanted to be an architecture major.
Yeah.
Like something that I
did
really,
not know that.
Oh yeah. Or you didn't have it, but that's what I wanted to do.
That's
like
crazy.
I love, like literally if I have free time, I am drawing houseplants. Like no freaking joke. I will go,
awesome.
I will pull up plots of land and I will draw like
Wow, you're fabulous.
like
I
that
did
is
not know
like
this.
that is a dream of mine.
That's so cool.
Not for anybody else. Like it's solely for me. I want this plot
Yeah.
of land. This is what I want the land to look
Yeah.
like. But it's something that God has just shown me. Like he's like, I've given you the ability to create and to do these things. And it's growing up, I had to pick between a sport or anything that I wanted to do. I could only do one thing growing up. And yeah, I picked soccer. And the best decision, one of the best decisions, I
Yeah.
can't say the best decision, one of the best decisions I ever made because it shaped me in
Yeah.
a ton of ways. I
Yeah.
learned, I grew, and I had a lot of heartbreaks, a lot of amazing things, but it got me to a place where I got to ORU. I then worked there. Now I'm here. And it's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
And during that entire plan, the lie that had come in whenever I was younger was you can't be more than one thing.
Yeah.
God created you to be a soccer player and that's it.
Yeah.
Can't be multifaceted. You can't be a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, God, I am a Swiss Army knife. And the devil's just like, no, you can only do soccer. You can't do anything else.
Yeah.
It's just soccer. And I'm finally at this place where I am like, okay, no, I've got a toothpick. I've got a knife. I've got
Yeah.
little scissors.
Yeah.
I can fit in a pocket. I can go anywhere, whatever. Like, whatever, I'm just thinking of a pocket knife. But there's so many different facets to, and different levels and layers to that pocket knife.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's how I've equipped every single one of us. It's
Yeah.
not just me that I
Yeah.
get to have all these amazing things. Lindsay, you have them. Nate
Yeah.
has them. Cole has them.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is equipped with so many different
Yeah.
amazing things that God has given us. But what lies are we listening to where we're not allowing ourselves to tap into these equippings
Yeah.
and into these callings and into these future things that God has for us? Like, what are we getting in the way of what God is doing?
Yeah, that's good.
And that's really just what God has shown me. He's like, hey, you've been in the way. It's okay.
Yeah.
None of what I've equipped and called you for has changed. None of the
Yeah.
dreams I've taken away from you. They are all there.
Yeah.
And he's been so gentle in the reminder and just so comforting in that time of just heartbreak, of just like, you are seen, you
Yeah.
are known, but beyond all of that, you are loved
Yeah.
unconditionally, despite everything.
Yeah.
Everything that I want to be like, but what about this? He's like, I still love you.
Yeah.
I still love
Yeah.
you. And God's like, do you still love me?
Yeah.
And it's, yeah,
Yeah, I do.
without a shed of
Yeah.
doubt,
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
And it's been the most beautiful turn of events in my life, where it's literally been a little bit over a month since all of this has come to pass. And it has been the moment where I'm finally turning on that place in the mountain where I'm looking out and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay. Or
Yeah.
I'm looking down and I'm like, I've come so far.
You're like, I'm really high up. And in like
Yeah.
a month is a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just so crazy the transformation that can take place
Yeah.
when you just give God the room.
Yes.
Like,
Literally.
do you know what I'm saying? It's just, it really is so insane. And I
Yeah.
think we often like disqualify ourselves
Yeah.
and in turn disqualify God. It's like, okay, well, like, it's
Yeah.
too far gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm too old. I'm stuck at this job.
Yeah.
Been in this relationship too long. I've been at this job too long. I've been whatever it is.
Yeah.
And God's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, no, take a step back. I got you. You know, which I think is so cool. And even going back to what you said earlier about your mom and how like y'all have had healing conversations, it just reminded me of what you just said now. Is I think it's so cool situations like that when you really allow God to like walk you through healing. Like when
Yeah.
you really let God come in and work in your life. Because me and my family, very similar. Like me and my mom, very honest with each other. Same person, essentially.
Yeah.
And there has been times where we hurt each other.
Yeah.
Like she hurt me a lot. I hurt her probably. But
Yeah.
like just of like, well, you're the parent and I'm the kid. So,
Yeah.
you know, like that back
Yeah.
and forth. And that period of my life, like people would be like, I don't know how you do it, Lindsay. And I'm like, it's God. Because when you realize, for one, whose you are, as
Yeah.
cheesy as that sounds,
Yeah.
your worth and your identity is in Him.
Yeah.
And how much you yourself have messed up, made mistakes, and fallen
Yes.
short, and every time He's like, you're enough. You extend that same grace to people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so now I feel like it's cool to hear your story of how healing is taking place in that area. Then like with your dad. And then like you had another big life change of like you moved jobs.
Yeah.
And you were here. And if you listened to the podcast before, you should. That was a season for you too. And now when you're in this
Yeah.
other season, it's like God just carries you through things. And there's always like a thread, I feel,
Yes.
with the Lord and like what He does. And one season gets you to the next and to the next and to the next, you know?
Yeah.
So I just think that's so cool to hear, just seeing like your growth and like what the Lord is doing on the inside of you and how it's all connected.
Yeah.
And no season is in vain. Nothing that
No.
you walk through
No.
is not used by God.
Yeah.
He uses every single thing,
Yeah.
which is so awesome.
And I just want to point out, like, in this month, that, like, I don't want anybody that's hearing this and being like, a month, it must not have been like that, like, whatever. The month has been me pressing in as hard as I possibly can to
Yeah.
all that God has. And truly nothing else matters besides my relationship with God. And that does not come with the uncomfortable times where literally God is like, this is not me. We need to prune that off. Like,
Yeah.
think of a tree that you want to produce but is not. So you are going in and you are trimming and you are pruning the things that are preventing this tree from growing.
Yeah.
That is what this month has looked like. It is we're stepping back. Okay, we're not producing. Okay, why are we not? And it is growth.
Yeah.
It is uncomfortable. It is pruning. But I'm not going to view it in a negative way because everything, I want a plentiful harvest. I want a bountiful harvest. I want my fruit to be multiplied beyond what I could ever imagine. The only way I'm going to get there is to make sure that the roots, that the tree, that the thing that is actually producing is healthy, that is thriving, that it is in the right place, that it is being taken care of. Because if not, what's going to come out of it is not fruitful.
Yeah.
There might be no fruit. There might be fruit that is not good. But I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
I only want good fruit. And so it has come with a lot of correction. It has come with a lot of my eyes opening to, hey, that thing that you've been so defensive about for so long, yeah, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's, okay, my mindset is shifting. It's holding myself and having other people hold me accountable when it's uncomfortable and it's hard and it's not constantly asking for forgiveness, but being so grateful for the people that are around me for being gracious and patient and loving while I am growing.
Yeah.
And it's loving me through the difficult times. And it's just being next to me as all of this is happening. And it's sometimes I get, you want to get a little tired and you have to have somebody that is literally their hand is in your back pushing you as we have to sprint through the finish line. And it is, you're not stopping. You're not slowing down. Let's keep going. Like, you're good. And then it's other times they're handing you a water.
Yeah.
Other times it's, hey, pause, hold on, your shoe's untied. They're seeing something that I didn't see that could have tripped me up, literally.
Yeah.
And so it's just been this amazing month of personal growth and understanding, but also the most comforting and loving and fulfilling time. And I'm like, dang, this is what my life is going to look like beyond this moment.
Yeah.
And it's a moment in time. Like,
Yeah.
if you think about it in the broad spectrum of, okay, my life is this long, it's a dot.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally.
am I going to make a mountain out of a molehill?
Yeah.
Or am I just going to be present? And it's like, I don't want to miss out on the things that God has
For sure.
right in front of me.
Yeah.
Because I did that a lot.
Yeah.
So,
And I commend you for just letting the Lord use you the way that he has, because that he is actively. Because I think there's something so powerful in being obedient to what God is speaking to you and acting on it immediately and letting him transform you. Like Pastor Taylor always says, fail fast. And not that you failed, that's not what I'm saying. But when God, delayed obedience is still disobedience.
Yes.
And I think when you're obedient is still when you're obedient in the moment, you're like, okay, God, this is what I hear from you. Okay, this is hard, but we're not even gonna stop. We're just gonna keep pursuing you. We're just gonna keep letting you work. That is what I'm gonna do every single day.
Yeah.
I think there's something so powerful in that and so freeing, because just because you're in a different season than what you thought doesn't mean that it's bad.
no.
Doesn't mean that it's not gonna be the most amazing thing ever that God is gonna bring. You know what I'm saying? I think there's so much victory in that and so much power in knowing that surrendering and being obedient to his word is actually better than anything that you could have ever imagined. And one day you're gonna look back on this season and be like, why did I even sweat it? Which I think is so cool.
Yes.
I feel like that about so many of my hardest seasons. I always tell people, I'm like, if I could go back and change a thing, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because I would not be who I am, and
Yes.
in the grand scheme of things, it's so insignificant, you know? And being obedient to God for the rest of your life is way easier than living a life on your own.
Yeah.
You know? So.
And this season has just made me so grateful for where I'm planted.
Yeah.
And who's around me. And
even being here, probably. Can you
Oh
think if
my
you wouldn't have been
gosh.
here at Guts?
I would not
in
be
office.
sitting and
Yeah.
saying the things that I'm saying if I was not.
Yeah. So cool how the Lord
truly,
works.
I can look back before that moment and I can see where God was setting things up to have me in that right place, to have the right people around me for when this was going to happen, when it happened, for me to be protected and safe and having landing space where, hey, you're okay.
Yeah.
You are actually truly safe.
Yeah.
And I've just thought about like the moments where I've spoken to some of our elders and some of the older people that I seek wisdom and counsel from here in the church, and hearing their stories, going through the same situation that I went through when they were my age, and I'm like, I'm not alone.
You're like, this has happened to other people,
and not like I'm validated, but in a way of, okay,
like you see their life.
I see where you are at now, and that. Not in a comparative way, but like I want that, and I want more. You know, like it's okay to like see like the fruit of their life and be like, but I want more.
Yeah,
and like that's okay. Like aim high, like dream big. Like nothing's too small for God.
Nothing.
You know, like don't put him in a box. God's gonna give you the best, whatever that best is for you.
Yeah,
but dream big. And I just really started seeing these couples and these marriages and these families and all of these things that I'm like, my heart yearns and desires for these things.
Yeah.
And I hear their stories of what they went through, and I'm like, it's possible.
Yeah.
Like I see the promise fulfilled in their lives and the fruit and the harvest and the blessings generationally in their lives.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm not plateaued. I'm not stuck.
No. Yeah.
I'm not counted out. I'm not disqualified. I'm not left behind.
Yeah.
I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my stomach's growling. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And nothing else needs to worry me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if God can do it for them, he's no respecter of person. So if God's going to do it for them, he's going to do it for me.
Yeah.
If he's going to do it for them also, he's going to do it for me. If he's going to do it for them, he's going to do it for me. And I can stand on the fulfillment of the promises in their life and in the word, knowing that it is going to be done, that'll happen for me.
For sure.
That is where, not that it makes anything easier in a hard season, but it makes knowing what God has and that best that he has, it almost makes it seem more attainable and achievable.
For sure.
And not that you need to strive and try to achieve something to get whatever God has. Being obedient, staying in his peace, loving the way he's called us to love, doing the things that we have been called to do as children of God.
Yeah.
That is how we get to these places. It's surrendering, it's obedience, it's loving, it's serving. It's doing the things that are difficult.
Yeah.
Truly. Like Chris Hart and Molly, they say choose hard.
Yeah.
So are you, and I said it on the last podcast, are you willing to choose hard and get out of your flesh, get out of your comfort zone, and truly make an impact, fulfill the call of God on your life?
Yeah.
Know that the season you're in has purpose, whether you want to agree with that season or not. It doesn't really matter. There's a purpose to it.
Yeah.
Are you going to let God be glorified in it?
Yeah.
You get to decide all these things. And I know I can come across in sometimes a harsh way on that, but I am so passionate, even before this, about peace and about obedience. And I look back on, I'm in this season now because of a lack of obedience and a lack of following peace and a lack of being surrendered in areas. That was my choice.
Yeah.
God didn't put this season on me.
No,
I walked myself straight into the season.
Yeah. You're like, I marched on.
But what is God
fully
doing now?
Yeah.
He's redeeming and restoring that season because of my lack of obedience.
Yeah.
How beautiful of a picture of God.
Yeah.
Where I blatantly chose to walk the other way.
Yeah.
And hey,
Yeah.
let's turn back around.
Yeah.
In a loving and kind way.
Yeah.
That is one of the most beautiful things that I've learned in this season is even though I can choose wrong and choose no peace, no obedience, no surrender, he still has a seat at the table for me.
Absolutely.
Where I'm looking at how am I going to, I don't have the stomach to feast on all of the things that he has for me.
Yeah.
But I have a place at the table.
Yeah.
And that will never change. Nobody will ever take my seat either.
Yeah.
My seat will always be there.
Yeah.
I just have to be the prodigal son that returns home.
Yeah.
Dad, I'm home.
That's so awesome.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
No, I love that. That's like actually incredible. And it's just so cool. Like every time you go through a season like that, even he never changes. He's always the same.
Yeah.
But to be reminded every single time, it's like, wow, God, you're so good. And then something happens. Wow, God, you're so good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
he shouldn't. We don't
Yeah.
deserve it, but he does. And
Yeah.
I think that's just, there's nothing that we could ever do.
that could separate us from him.
Yeah.
And truly, like, that is the heart behind this podcast.
Yeah.
Is to get real in the nitty gritty of real people in real life.
Yeah.
Literally figuring out and learning to navigate life
Yeah.
as young adults.
Yeah.
Where it's Cole's going to be hosting, you're going to be hosting, I'm going to be hosting.
Yeah.
And we just want to have these real, vulnerable, honest conversations where we know we don't have it all put together, but we know our source. We know who we are reliant on.
Yeah.
We know our peace. We know the word.
Yeah.
And that is where lives are changed.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's an opportunity for people to get to hear different perspectives.
Yeah.
And it's, oh my gosh, I've been dealing with this for so long, but I finally feel like God sees me because somebody else has walked through it. And
Yeah.
testimonies are beyond powerful.
For sure.
And it's by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the word.
Yeah.
So giving a place for young adults to come in and to share their testimony. And testimony is not just like this one-time endeavor that you have. Like, there are multiple different testimonies that people are going to walk out in their lifetime. This is a place that these testimonies, these things that God has been glorified and been in the middle of and restored and redeemed restored and redeemed and got us to a place where we are truly on the other side. We have walked through that season and we are on the other side and potentially still walking through that in some areas, but it's just a place. It's real. It's raw.
Yeah.
It's vulnerable and it's honest.
Yeah.
And it's just truly God at work. What he's done, what he's doing, where he's taken us. And I think that's just so powerful.
No, absolutely.
Because it's all about connection and conversation.
Yeah.
And we want to have a platform that we can put that out there where we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you could literally be listening to this in Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah.
And are like, I'm so glad I heard what Lindsay had to say today because I've been dealing with that with my family or with my sibling, and dang, that just changed my whole perspective.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that can literally change.
Yeah.
It's a moment with God that can literally change your life.
Yeah.
And
Forever.
hopefully you can glean something from this. If not, so sorry. But God is doing a work, and you know what? I've gleaned something from our conversation.
Yeah.
So it's just a place that we just want that real talk to have a place to be put forth.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So fun.
I'm so excited to see who you're going to bring on. And
I know. I can't wait to listen to Taylor's.
Oh yeah. She's so good. I'm like, I need a part 2 with her. Like, get her back on.
Bring her back.
Like,
I
I
love
literally
it.
was walking out of SUB30 last night and I was just like I literally almost called her in the midst of me crying because I was like, I just need somebody to talk to.
You're like,
I was like,
Taylor.
I was like, who can I call? And I was like, oh, Taylor she brings that peace.
She 1,000% does. Like, that is just her.
She is just true
demeanor.
joy and peace.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
She's a gem.
I love it.
She is a gem.
So fabulous.
Well,
this was so fun.
Thanks for being here and
Of course.
letting me host you. You host me.
Yeah, so fun. So fun. Joint host. Sorry for my nasally stuff that I'm going through. This was annoying.
Healed and whole.
Yeah, in Jesus' name. Literally healed
In Jesus'
audio
name.
on repeat.
Yes.
It's like, Lord, please. Please.
We should link that in our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The
Link it down
Healed
below.
CD. Is
Yeah.
it's not a CD
No,
anymore,
it's a
is it?
YouTube audio.
Okay.
It used to be a CD.
Okay.
Back in the gap. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Everyone still calls it the healed CD.
That's what I thought. I was like, I don't think it's actually a CD anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, great.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Happy Thursday,
Happy
everybody.
Thursday. Bye.
Go get you a Dutch Bros.